Hi folks, welcome to another episode of My Life with Robert Burns. Douglas Mackenzie and Jim Thompson here. Hi Jim.
Hi Douglas, hi everybody.
To talk to two of our cronies about their life with Robert Burns. Tonight folks, we have the former president of the Burns Federation and the vice president of Falthouse and Croft Head Burns Club. Cronies everywhere, please welcome Karen and Bobby Kane.
Hi folks.
Hey folks.
How are you doing?
Not too bad, thanks.
Good, good, good.
And you guys are well?
Well, we're very well. Now, I know, Bobby, you've seen some of these before, and you'll know that we always start off by asking the same question. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? But I'm going to direct that to Karen, because I think we'd like to hear something about Karen first of all.
Okay, well, my name's Karen Kane and I'm a teacher, secondary teacher. I'm actually a techie teacher, so women in a man's world, as they say. I've been doing that job now for close on 30 years and probably looking to retire soon, but Mr. Kane won't let me. Got 5 children between us, so quite a busy household, and a dog called Brody, who's actually with us, so you might hear him from time to time. Other than that, just enjoy motorhoming in my free time, spending time with the kids and enjoying life, like my food, like my drink. And not so much holidays just now, although I do like rather staying here in the motorhome and doing Scotland rather than travelling far afield, and just walking, generally keep fit. We found keep fit during lockdown, so we're a wee bit lighter than we used to be.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, so just generally enjoying life, and I've actually enjoyed the slower pace of life since lockdown as well. It's been quite good.
So, so are you a local girl? So what school did you go to?
Yes, Whitburn, and then went to Whitburn Academy. We've actually moved a whole 3 miles, I think it is, to Blackburn for the last 15 years. And I actually teach and live in Blackburn. So live at one end of the village and teach at St Kentic Girls Academy at the other end. So I've got a terrible commute in the morning and back. Takes for hours to get to work. But yeah, and love teaching in terms of the kids, not so much the other staff that we work with, and all the sort of bureaucracy that goes along with the job now. But yeah, local to West Lothian, definitely. And Falthouse and Croft Head that we're involved with is just a couple of miles up the road. So
excellent. And what got you into teaching technical? That's quite an unusual subject.
It was at the time, obviously going back nearly 30 years, but not so much now. Lots of women do the job now. At the time, I wasn't really sure leaving school what I wanted to do. My mum and 2 aunties were both primary teachers. Knew I didn't want to teach primary, but thought teaching was maybe a thing. My dad was an engineer, so I think I basically just combined both their occupations. And it was generally something. I went along for an interview for university and found myself sitting outside going, this is a techie teacher. There was a guy interviewing before me, and I was sort of listening to the end of his interview and was suddenly aware that it was actually a techie teacher's job that I was applying for. So went in and really got annoyed by the guy who was interviewing me because, well, the first thing was it was in Edinburgh. And he said I had put on my application that I had a season ticket for Tynecastle at the time. And he said to me, you've written this down, but what if I was to tell you I was a Hibs supporter? And I said, well, you've got your own worries. I don't need to add to them by telling you anything else. And then he made a comment about my hands. He wanted to see my hands and see if I had long nails and things. And that really irked me. And so I came out thinking, oh, I've blown this, but was actually wanting to go and prove to him that I could do the job that he obviously thought I wasn't up for. And at the end of the day, my mum had said, if you don't have anything else, then go along, see how you get on. and you can always like leave. Go from one course to the other was easier than trying to reapply for another university course. But the minute I went in, that was me. I was hooked. I actually got in, obviously, and I was just hooked. Loved it. And there was only 2 girls on the course at that time. And then in 4 years, I got my first job actually in Hamilton Grammar School, and I was in the paper and everything, saying first female tech teacher in Lanarkshire sort of thing. So that was actually quite good. But you know, I've genuinely loved the job since. It's just all the non-teaching side of it gets to you. But I suppose that's the same in every job, isn't it?
Very good. And you get landed with all the technical stuff at home as well?
Oh, definitely. Bobby's useless.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can wallpaper, but we only had one wallpaper in the whole
That's more than
house.
enough. That's more than enough. More to life than painting walls. Come on.
Well, that's a great segue. You can tell us about yourself and what you are capable of doing, Bobby.
Not very much. So I've been around. I work with a company called Heat and Control now for 25 years. Just this year, so I actually got a watch later in the year. But I left the school. I hated the school. Left the school with some qualifications, but not a lot. And joined the big life of work. Worked in the whisky industry for a wee while. Worked in the meat and veg type industry for a wee while, but in sales, moved into insurance, and then was approached to join this company some 25 years ago to go and sell a particular product that they were actually important, and they needed someone who could actually sell it rather than an engineer who they had always kind of promoted within their ranks to go and sell the machines that we make. And I went in and took an opportunity, and suddenly 25 years later, I run the office here and look after my wee bit of Europe up into the Middle East and North Africa. In the Middle East, I've spent probably the last 20 years traipsing around in a few mad places that nobody else would go. And it's been really interesting. Karen gets quite annoyed as I jump out of bed in the morning, quite happy to go to the office because every day is different. And I speak to so many different people. It's quite amazing. So that's kind of been my work life. And Karen's threatening to retire, but she's going to work till she's 67 now. So she's got 17 years to go. Because what she didn't mention is that she's got a big birthday this week.
Oh, wow.
Not this week, next week.
Well, sorry, party's this week. So next week, middle of next week, she's got a big birthday. So if she retires at 67 and she's got 17 years to go, you'll have gathered it's no 40. But she's not mentioned that bit, but she's definitely a woman in a man's world, and I just do as I'm told. She does all the work in the house. I get to cook the dinner.
Oh, this is true.
That's true. Every night I get to cook the dinner, and then I get a row for leaving and some messy dishes about as well. But she can do that part.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's fabulous in the kitchen, but why use one pot when you can use 5? Why use, like trash your kitchen at the same time?
Well, I mean, there's all these different sauces. You got to see these dinners, guys. Extraordinaire.
So what gave you this knowledge of the kitchen and cooking? You've been doing some courses.
I've actually, believe it or not, I've got a Christmas present I've not been able to use to go to Nick Nairn and try to get taught how to do it right. He says, is that you try to tell me I'm not very good at this, Gavin? So I have to go to Nick Nairn to show me. But no, it started when I was young. I spent the biggest part of my life growing up with my granny and my grandfather. And my grandfather retired there. Well, he was made redundant for the pit. It's a big mining community through here. Made redundant for the pit and ended up being the caretaker, actually in the Masonic Lodge in Hart Hill. And it was a big old house, Hugo's house it was called. And I used to, school holidays, every weekend, me and him got on the bikes and I went out and helped him tidy up and clean up. And that was back in the days when clubs were heaving. So, there was functions every Friday and every Saturday and stuff on all the time. So he needed that extra hand at the weekend. And I did that for I was about 8-year-old and thoroughly enjoyed it. And my granny used to bake, like everybody's granny. She had this fantastic home baking. She made apple pies, you name it, she made it. She made the most fabulous clouty dumpling. And I'll never forget how the clouty dumpling came out the pot and was put in front of the coal fire. and burrow round and round for a couple of hours to dry it out. I'm sure you have seen that in your time. And it was just that, watched my granny, and I suddenly got involved in doing, making scones and that kind of thing. And then I kind of ventured on to making some real meals, and just enjoy it. I come in, I think I've got the patience for it, and it's a good de-stressor. You can go into the office sometimes where you've maybe been boxing and things haven't been going well, and so you've had a fight with a customer or a client's not happy, and you come in and I get the pots and pans and the knives out and start chopping onions and putting stuff on, and it's great. Thoroughly enjoy it.
To be fair, he's never done the kids' dinners, so things like the fish fingers and the chicken nuggets.
Anybody can stick something in.
So that was basically left to me. He always did an amazing roast dinner on a Sunday, or steak pies. He's saying that's really your go-to dish. Steak. He makes an amazing steak. But since lockdown, when we started sort of getting our healthy options and things done and looking after ourselves, it did become something that Bobby wanted to do, because he was obviously calorie counting at the time, and it's just developed for there. So now
listen, don't let her kid you on that she's trying to make excuses why she doesn't cook. She didn't cook before, but we're trying to eat healthily now.
Yeah.
But,
Very good. That's brilliant. I'm a wee bit worried about your nickname voucher, because did his restaurant not go on fire recently?
Did you see that?
Hopefully we're going to the cook school, but I mean, the poor man may be devastated, because it was a lovely place.
It doesn't sound too good.
No.
I think they're planning to reopen it, mind you.
Yeah, I reckon it took 3 years or something. I read Douglas, it's going to get it open again.
All right. Anyway, tell us about the equipment that your company manufactures and what manufactures and what it's used for.
Well, we actually manufacture the machines that make a potato crisp. That's the easiest description. So we make big industrial food processing machines. And I remember coming down and doing the smoker down at your club one night, and coming with a raw potato and a packet of crisps. They said, "Well, I'll show you how to make this." And it was a great night with great company. And so we'll take a potato, farmer will deliver it into a factory, and we'll put it in a bag at the other end and make a potato crisp. And it's interesting. I mean, we have these massive machines that people don't quite realise or understand the scale of this thing. I mean, I was just showing one of the new guys the other day. I just took the calculator and I was just calculating some numbers, and I did it that night. I come up, I'm sure you'll remember, about every hour, there's the best part of 200,000 packets of crisps come off the end of that line every single hour. And they've got multiple lines, these big companies, And it's great watching it again. I suppose they get quite frustrated, because every time you get in a supermarket, I've got to wander up and down the crisp aisle just in case there's any new ones that I don't know about, or potentially new customers that we can go and knock their door. So it can get quite interesting.
We don't get any free samples though.
It's you're not going to be allowed them if you're healthy eating.
Correct. I mean, it's great. It's a fantastic situation. I mean, I remember nearly just about 8 years ago now, Boxing Day, I got a phone call from a guy. He said, "Bobby, I really need to see you. Can you come down?" I said, "Yeah, no problem. It's what you're doing tomorrow. I'll come down tomorrow." And went down to this guy's house down in England, just in the north of England. And he says, "Look, I'm splitting away and I'm going to start my own company and do a startup venture." Well, just the early part of the summer, that guy sold his company after having bought 5 lines from us over the last 8 years. A great entrepreneur, a easy word to say, and it's great to see that success. But it's actually great to have been part of it right from the beginning and supporting it all the way through. It's really interesting.
Tremendous. So that involved quite a bit of travel.
Yeah. I mean, when I was actually in sales for a great number of years, I was just in the Middle East all the time. A great story. I've been in the days when you could go to Iran before all the sanctions came back in again. I remember being in Iran, about 50 miles outside Tehran, in an industrial area, sitting in this hotel that's not the nicest place you could imagine, but it's the only one. And I'm sitting there. For a lot of the listeners, I'm sure will know. I mean, when you're the lonely sales rep, you're sitting in the corner of the restaurant with your book and your dinner because you don't know anybody, you're just fleeting through. And I'm sitting in the corner with my book and this not so interesting dinner. And then walks a guy with a daily record under his arm. And I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere. So it was me and him in this place. And it turned out he was over actually for weird pumps. And they were selling pumps for the oil industry, which obviously Iran was getting into big style at that time. So it's amazing. Places I've been, places I would never go if you were just being a normal tourist. And the places I've actually been where tourists go and I haven't seen any of them. I've seen an airport and a factory, maybe a hotel bed, but I've thousands and thousands of miles of travel.
Tremendous. I was worried there when you were telling your story about your travel, because I remember the story you told at New Cumnock, and I don't think we can use that one tonight.
There's a few.
and what about travelling with a motorhome? How far do you get with that?
Oh, we've been in France.
Yeah. Been down to La Rochelle, I think was the furthest down in France we've been. A bit further south than that.
We've done that Atlantic coast in France. Beautiful. France is really geared up for it, mainland Europe, but we've done the D-Day beaches. Love history. So we did all the D-Day beaches up through Normandy. We've done it a couple of times now. We did the World War I parts and up into Belgium, and then down into Lyon area and the Atlantic coast of France, just south of La Rochelle. So yeah, we get around. But this year we did a wee Highland tour this year, did up and around, and we plan to do the islands. That's hopefully next year we're off to do the Hebrides and all of that. But it's great. Okay.
I remember when we went to France the first year and we had the dogs, and the dogs have obviously got their passports the same as us now. And we got to, it was Cali actually coming back, and the guy asked us, so we drove up to the wee window and he asks us for our passports. So I hands them the 4 passports and he's checking the dogs and things, and they have to get chipped and what have you. And then he's looking at Bobby's passport and he's looking at Bobby and he's like, all right. Then he's looking at mine. And he's looking and he said, so you travel a lot then? And Bobby says, yeah, I travel. Why do you travel a lot? He said, oh, it's business and things like that. And he turned to me and said, does he no like you that he doesn't take you with him? And I was sitting there with like my Mallorca stamp, and that was it on my passport.
So the dogs always go with you?
Yep.
Yeah. That was one reason we bought a caravan when the kids were young. We had a dog, and we just actually lost him last year. And so you don't. He was quite a timid soul, so we weren't going to put him in. He wouldn't have managed to do kennels or anything. So.
So you're going to introduce us to Brodie? Is Brodie still around?
He's just laid out. I'll lift him up the next time he's moving.
Next time we move,
it's just he's Brodie. Quiet, so we'll leave him.
Okay.
Have you not seen us clapping him?
Oh, just one final question before we got on to talking about Burns. You're a jam tart. So how does that work in your household?
It's a mixed marriage, Douglas. It's a mixed marriage.
It's it's interesting. It's okay. I've actually now got a season ticket for Glasgow Warriors, so I'm actually into the rugby now.
Very good.
So I go there, but my dad's still got his season ticket for Tynecastle. So, but he can be a bit huffy. So it's just a case of.
He's going to watch this. You're in trouble.
Sorry, Dad. So it is a case that it's usually quite quiet because if Hearts have got beat. To be fair, we have spent the whole
of last weekends. Then I'll say it before you guys say it. I know you were thinking it.
To be fair, when they were in the other league last year, it didn't really matter because it's only really when they play Rangers that it's an issue. But my dad usually just goes in the huff and avoids us for a couple of days.
So do you ever go to games together?
No.
No football games, no. She's a Hearts supporter. I can't take her to the Rangers then. Come on. But we have been at the rugby. Actually, the rugby's a great night out because you can get in there and it's so far more relaxed. You can
you get to have a drink at the rugby. Yeah. And it's the talent on the pitch is a lot nicer in the rugby park. They're not prima donnas like the footballers, to be fair.
Very good. Right, that's fascinating hearing your stories. So thank you very much for that. We want to talk to you a bit about your interest in burns now. So I'll pass over to Jim to let him to start the questioning in that area.
Okay.
Well, this is the same as every other one with none of these. The first question is always the same. How did you collide with burns? Karen, you start us off.
Right, my connection with burns. Well, it's my dad. I was probably about mid-30s, and I had 3 girls under 5. So I had a busy house, busy life, and I think my dad felt a bit sorry for me. I didn't get out much. And he had happened to go to Falthouse and Crofthead Burns Club, mainly through his Masonic connections. So he had, I think he had been to either a burn supper or a brunch that the Masonic had put on. And he had thoroughly enjoyed himself, was telling everybody about it. And they said, why don't you come to the Falthouse and Crofthead? We meet once a month. And it was described to him by an older member who's actually died now, Dougie Deakins, as being Hogmanay once a month at the F&C club, which it was. So my dad, I think he had been to a couple of meetings and then said to me, what are you doing on Friday? And I was like, that, not really got anything on, Dad, obviously. And he says, right, you're coming with me, I'm taking you out and we're going to go to the Burns Club. And I was like, okay. And he says, look, it's a great night. We'll get a lift, we'll get a drink, and you'll enjoy yourself. It's Hogmanay once a month, Cam. It's okay. So off we went, and sure enough, we had a drink and we got a lift. We had a great night, and it really was. It was Hogmanay. It was like it used to be when my gran was alive, and we all met either at the gala day or at Christmas or New Year. And it was just a lovely welcoming club. Nobody took themselves very seriously. We're maybe not as highbrow as some of the other ones, but we actually just enjoy ourselves from start to finish and have a laugh. You can't take yourself too seriously. You don't get an opportunity to. Certainly people will. I mean, very encouraging, especially if you're trying to learn a new poem or you're trying to maybe put a toast together. You obviously run it past the guys at the club first, and they're very, very encouraging. But it was genuinely Hogmanay once a month, and that was me. I was hooked. And because it was only once a month and it wasn't every month, I was able to go, because it was only one night a month I was asking to get out, and that wasn't that bad. So that was really what got me into it, and then never stopped going since.
Until your New Year, going to be president shortly.
I'm going to be president. I think that's though, Jim, because nobody else is going to do it. I think it's more default than anything else. It was a case of you haven't had a turn. So, but aye, it's a great club. I mean, you only understand the talent that we've had in our club over the years when you go visiting and you tell someone where you're from. And there's like, oh, and especially now we've started this F&C club. It gets me laugh. In fact, one of our members, she's a bit of a folk singer and a bit of a songwriter, and she actually wrote us our own song. So we have our own, the old F&C. And if I could hold a note, Jim, as well as you can, I would be able to tell you how that goes. But as I can't, you'll just have to come to the club and hear it.
I've heard it in the club a few times. And as a beginning, a landing ground in terms of burns, the old F&C is no bad. And when I think back to the nights with the harmonies, they're wonderful. And I would just say publicly to the viewers, we're going to miss Wildcat, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do you know, over the years, we've probably spent, since I joined, so 15 years or whatever, threatening to video, and actually record them and have them perform. And, you know, we just never got round to it. And we were actually really close to doing it over the last couple of years. And then obviously COVID struck and we've not been to meetings, and Will can't do Zoom. We've tried to get him on Zoom so that we could even just record them on that. And that's not his style, and he just wouldn't do it. But he's known not as a legend, but as a leg end, because that's what the school say. They don't say legend, they say leg end. So Will Kirk is definitely a leg end. And as you say, we'll never see someone as like that again, I don't think. He's just a one-off.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful man. Right, Bobby, how did you meet Mr. Burns?
Oh, it's actually initially through my grandfather. I said I spent a lot of time and really grew up with him, and it wasn't a big Burnsian, but Burns was always there, and he had a Burns book. And actually, when he died, I got his Burns book when he passed away. Unfortunately, he was just a young man in his mid-70s, really, compared to nowadays. And I got his Burns book, and as I say, there was just certain things he would say that were Burns. He didn't stand up and recite a Burns poem and things, but he always liked a bit of Burns at the New Year, and that traditional stuff that really, as Karen said, has completely fell away. And then I got involved with the Masons and through the chair of my particular lodge. And kind of after that loose end kind of thing, as a lot of people, I mean, I wasn't interested in going and being anything else in the Masons, and I joined the F&C as well. And just this fabulous start, and it really was. It was Hug Money once a month on a Friday night, and you went in and you came out with a big smile and a good few drams, having had a fabulous night that cost you a couple of pound in raffle tickets. You couldn't have bought a ticket for the talent that you got, and it was just brilliant. And you got to a position where you couldn't wait till the next one was coming along. And then, of course, you got a wee bit of bug, and then actually, a guy called Jimmy Boys says to me, "Why don't you come and do a toast to the lassies?" And okay, we'll do a toast to the lassies. And that kind of started me on the road doing toasts. And I've been quite a few places with Jimmy. And Jimmy's for those who do know him, and a few will know him, he's an encyclopedia of Burns. Jimmy's in his 80s now, but he's kind of made Burns his lifelong study, really. And there's not much he doesn't care about Burns. And if he doesn't know, he actually knows where to go and find out about it. So he's really that Burns encyclopedia that everybody goes to through this way, especially. Obviously, you guys down in Ayrshire, I've got a number of people like that, including a couple of you sitting hosting this programme, of course. But and it just kind of grew from there. I got involved then. I got asked with a guy called Devlin, who unfortunately they keep him great just now, the most beautiful singer. You've heard them singing. In fact, we were there was one of the presentations at the conference about the lovely lass of Inverness, and that was one of Alan Devlin's songs. He sung it regularly, no matter where we went, and a great tune. But one of the guys, Will Kirk, actually, and his brother-in-law Graham Hamilton, used to say, "Oh, here, Alan, up, we've got another dirge tonight." And that was the bit where we didn't take ourselves serious, because Alan would just laugh along with everybody else. And so we got here, and Alan asked me if I would come in and be vice president and be president of the club, and I was really honoured to do it. And that was the days when the club was actually having debates about whether we were going to limit our membership to 50, because there wasn't any more room in the wee hall that we used to have our meetings. And I remember that debate, and now, as they've all unfortunately passed away and fell away, but we're now doing a club where we've got a couple of dozen active, not even active members now, as people have died, because we just, like everywhere, are struggling to get young ones in. And that kind of then led on to Karen got really involved with the schools competition, being a school teacher. And I got involved in that with her. That kind of took me down the road to Federation, where I just came along to support Karen. I wasn't involved in any way, and suddenly saw that there was this bigger organisation there. We were involved in that, and then the LABC, and then somebody on here suggested I maybe stand for the big job. And so I did, and I was probably fortunate nobody stood against me, so I didn't have to fight an election, or I probably wouldn't have got in. So, but in there and thoroughly enjoyed it, despite all some of the politics and things that went on, and some of the nonsense that went on. An organisation that needed some help. And it was driven with some great people who were trying to drive it forward, and straight off a conference that was absolutely fabulous, and shows us the road that's came for the days that you asked me to get involved, Jim. And that's kind of been my road with Burns, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. I really have, even with the nonsense that sometimes goes on.
Enjoy the conference last weekend?
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. What a difference, eh? What a difference. Although there wasn't that many there, it was a good attendance considering COVID.
Yeah.
hopefully next year we'll get an even bigger attendance that lets the North American ones go. But just fabulous, and the spirit of the thing, and actually seeing that go to arms come into life was just brilliant, wasn't it? Absolutely brilliant.
I bet it has.
And I've got to say, that's something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. And I was struggling to enunciate that at the time, as you could probably guess, because when they said they were going to do it, I said, absolutely no chance.
Yeah.
Having said that, little did I know that the Lord Lion was a Mason, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah.
And
Aye.
also, I think he's got real friendship, long time friendship with a lot of people there. I mean, Martin Cassidy certainly knew him, and Henry knew him. Henry has a real interest in heraldry as well. So, and then I think Alan.
I think
Alan
Alan. Yeah, it's and anyway, he's a Mason, and I first met him actually in my own lodge at our centenary year when he was just before he became Grand Master Mason, and so that connection there. And he's got this love of Burns as well, probably through the Masons, because a lot of the Burns guys get into it through the Masonic connections and then saw what the guy can do. But like you, Jim, I just didn't think it would come true. And you know, when the guys first told me they were looking to do it and they were raising funds, I was quite happy to give a donation towards it. And then to see it come to life like that, and so well done. I mean, it's fabulous. If the listeners haven't seen it yet, then go onto the website and see it. It just gets Burns in every way. The bit that Burns wanted himself, but the bit that the Lord Lion has put round about it just captures his life perfectly for me. I thought it was fun, absolutely brilliant.
Well, shamefacedly, I'm going to give a plug to the fact that not only can you see it on the website, you can buy one for £25 or a copy. You can't buy the original. You can buy a copy signed by the Lord Lion as well for £25, and you'll get it in the office shop or the website shop. It's, for me, it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And the declaration of a collie on one side and Meg Damashanta's is the thing that holds it all up.
And the wee moose in the corner.
The wee moose in the corner. But for me, it's the two things and the height of them that just stand out and say, look, this is an important guy's arms.
Yeah.
Aye. It's just, and for to be here now in the 21st century, and you know, when I do go out and I do a mortal memory about is Burns relevant today, that just showed it how relevant today that Burns is. That the 21st century, our federation has got together and made one of Burns's dreams come true, because he wanted a coat of arms, and we've done it. So what a remarkable tribute to a remarkable man. I think it's wonderful, and I'm so proud to have been there.
I mean, I know you said that you could tell you were emotional about introducing it and things, Jim, but I really thought that the actual Lord Lion himself was very chuffed and very emotional as well. I think he was just as proud as everybody else in the hall that he had managed to get this done.
I'll tell you somebody else, wonderful speaker, absolutely
outstanding. Yeah, he was. He was quite funny as well, wasn't he? He was very entertaining.
It'd be nice getting him to a Burns supper today, but however, speaking of Burns suppers, you got any favourite Burns suppers you want to recall?
Favourite ones? I do have a special thing for our own Burns supper, because it's always again, it's an informal do. It's a very good do, but it's a very informal do, and there's always something goes wrong and we all get a laugh, and it takes you for a few months. One of the most memorable Burns suppers that I've attended was I was asked to do the reply to the lassies at the Motherwell Civic Centre on behalf of Motherwell District Council. No, well, it's not Motherwell, Lanarkshire District, North Lanarkshire. And they said they were putting us up in this hotel. Mr. Kane came as a bidey in, basically.
On the free.
On the coattails, you know, I'm on the billing for a change. They were putting us up in this hotel and taking us in by chauffeur car to the Civic Centre. And I was thinking, oh, right, this is quite a nice do. When I got there, I realised it was in front of 300 people. And they built a special stand, like a special stage at the side for us. And you were up in the heavens, basically looking down on everyone. And everyone had paid £50 a head to come to this. to hear me. I'm like, all right. But you're always nervous doing this. And I always remember the guy, I will not say any names, but the guy that did the Toast to the Lassies, he stood up to do the toast, and I'm sitting there with my toast, and he used my poem. He used, like, I'm scoring things out when I can't do this and I can't do that. And I literally was left with like a paragraph of this toast going, oh, what am I going to do? And Bobby just said, look, just go up and do your toast. You just have to do it. Just, you know, I managed to tweak a wee bit at the beginning that got a laugh about the Christmas lights in Hart Hill, because there was a table for Hart Hill there. But when I stood up, I thought, right, okay, just do it. Stood up, was in the middle of the sort of introduction bit, feeling fine, turned to the side, thought I was getting a bit sort of gallus, I'll have a wee look round. And there was my face, and it must have been about 20 foot tall. It was on this huge big screen at the side of the stage, and there was me just looking, and well, that was it. My knees buckled. I was like, oh, jings. So I'll never forget that. Managed to hold it together though, I think, and it was a good night. But that was scary. It really was. It was because I just didn't realise, I had never been before, so I didn't realise how big an event it was. Which is probably a good thing, because I don't think I would have done it if I thought there was going to be 300 people there.
It always amazes me that school teachers have difficulty standing
Oh,
and speaking
yeah.
when they do it for a living.
Yeah.
But I'm talking to people who are wee people. they might be young adults, but they're wee people. They're still somebody's wains. And you always, like, I still know more than they do.
Okay.
Do you know, well, but I do. At the end of the day, I'm teaching them my subject. I know more than they do. It's just different. It is so different. To be fair, even as a school teacher, I can stand up in front of my class and it's not a problem. But I can't stand up as easily in front of an assembly. So say you maybe had a year group or a couple of year groups in an assembly, or standing up in front of my peers. See if you have to stand up in front of teachers on an in-service day and speak. That's not nice either. And very few of us enjoy that.
Well, there's a wee dog there wanting introduced.
He's wanting up now, isn't he?
Yeah.
There he is. But this is Brodie.
This is Brodie. Right.
Hi, Brodie.
He's badly needing a haircut, so he's all curls.
Where does the name come from? Where did you get the name from?
Our other dog was a blue roan, and he was called Brammer. And we don't have to explain what Brammer means to people from the west of Scotland and the north, actually, but you do have to explain to the east and the southern coast what Brammer. What's a Brammer? Well, a Bobby Dazzler is maybe more what we say in the east side. And Brammer was definitely a Brammer. He was a good-looking dog. Unfortunately, we lost him last year. And when we got Brodie, it was a name to go with Brammer. And Heather actually just said, we need to have another bit. So it was, we got Brodie. But our breeder, who named Brammer, names all our cockers Scottish words. So we've got skiing and sporting. What else has she got? She's got a haver and a paver. And so it's things like that. And when we told her his name was Brodie, oh, she was disgusted, because that was an Edinburgh name. And because what is it? Brodie's the Deacon
Brodie.
Deacon Brodie.
I was thinking of.
And she's like, you've called my dog after somebody for Edinburgh. So she's not that impressed with his name. But that was it. It's just really the kids picked. He gets broads. He gets
Devil
lots
dog.
of devil dog.
Gets,
he was a devil dog for a while.
Never a devil dog.
No, he's not. He's a good lad.
Leader. I've been quite lucky.
Karen, you talked earlier on about learning poems. There isn't a poem you could give us a couple of verses from?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I actually have. Well, can you not guess what my poem must be as a techie teacher? Female.
The inventory.
Oh, that's a good guess, enough.
Well, Europe's eye is fixed on mighty things, the fate of empires and the fall of kings. While quacks of state must each produce his plan, and even children list their rights of man. Amid this mighty fuss, just let me mention the rights of women merit some attention. that's actually the only one I can do, I'm afraid to say. And actually, a few years ago, we were in Dumfries Ladies Buns Club, and there was a young girl who had done it.
For your club.
Was it for your club?
Lassie Hasty.
And
Yeah.
she was actually at the evening, and was she actually sang, I think. Did she sing?
She sang as well.
She sang and she recited a couple, and me and my mum had actually just gone to the toilet.
Brilliant.
And we came back as she was about to start, so we stood at the side of the hall, and she was just fantastic. And when she finished, I just went, well, I'll not be able to do that again, because I can't do it as well as she did. But she was super. But
carry on.
No, you're okay.
Just to give her full credit, it's Rowan Hasty.
Rowan, yeah.
Rowan, yeah.
Fantastic wee talent.
Oh,
I know she shows to me. I saw it was a big birthday recently. I think was she 16 or something. I think I saw that recently on a dad's Facebook page. But one amazingly talented young lassie, just amazing.
Aye. Oh, it was super. She really was. She was fab.
What about Bobby? Let's hear your story of your favourite supper.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, there's been so many, but again, like Karen, our club ones are quite something, because they're mixed suppers. The club's a mixed club, so it's a mixed supper, and it's great to see different people coming along. And over the years, Jim Bowes used to bring a table load of the farmers. You know, it was like virtually their annual night out, and they had an absolute ball. So it was great, and the talent, you know, we've got Walkirk and things. So it was a great night. But I've been around a few, but probably. You know, yeah, up there. I mean, I was in Winnipeg just before lockdown to do theirs on the 25th of January. But I think probably for me, the Mother Club. I got invited along to do the Mother Club, and that was one proud moment. I've got to be perfectly honest with you. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We've had that. You know, we've been down to Greenock over the years as a club at their inter-club night. But they've invited along to toast the immortal memory at the Mother Club. I was a proud wee boy for up on that day, I'll tell you. But I've been lucky. I mean, being around and being president, obviously you get asked to do things you probably wouldn't. But it was great. I mean, I was up at a Broth Football Club. I got invited up to do one at a Broth Football Club, and actually in the stadium. And again, it was great because their memorabilia in their director's room and everything. So when the record Scottish Cup victory over Bonnacorn, I've got a replica shirt and everything, and it was fantastic. So I think every burn supper has something. Sometimes not the best. I mean, I remember we did one up in Wishaw. We were doing one on the Friday night, one on the Saturday night with Jim Bowes. It was the time Jim Bowes was getting us to go around. And we were a couple of talented guys that were with us at Alan Bath singing, and Jim Kelly, who's an absolutely wonderful reciter, and he has props in that way. I mean, it really brings the crowd in. Not a titter did we get all night at this. It was in one of the golf clubs, I don't mention it, but honestly, it was hard work, and you're sitting there, bloody hell, what are we going to have to do here? These guys are supposed to be enjoying themselves, and we're that bad. And at the end of the night, they're all coming up and saying, well done, that was a great night. Really, I mean, it's like the joke Jim uses about Karen's dad, you want to tell your face you're happy, you know? But honestly, and the guy who had us down, we were doing one in Bells Hill the next night, and I said to him, this basically, guys, this is tomorrow, so you're getting the same supper you got tonight. Don't worry about it, you've got a slightly different audience. But the next night, we couldn't shut them up. We brought the house down. They had the roof off the place, and that's every supper's got that wee bit of difference. You know, if you get asked to do the immortal memory at an early start on a Friday night, I go, well, that's good. It's an early finish. It finished at just after 10 o'clock. I say, well, you just wind up the bar shut at 11. He says, no, he says, we get the real speaker in at 11:30 because John Gagan was coming to tell some dirty stories for him there. so that's been the whole scheme of the burn suppers. And I remember when I was president, I was asked to go and do a wee bit in Radio Scotland on the day of the 25th, actually. If it wasn't the 25th, it was the day before it, and their afternoon lunchtime show at that time. And she said to me, the girl who hosted it, she said, you know, are you a traditionalist or are you a modernist in a burn supper? I says, I'm one thing in a burn supper. A burn supper should be about fun. And it doesn't matter whether you're an old-fashioned fun or a new style fun. You want people to go and enjoy themselves, and ideally you want people to be going out the road at the end of the night, into their taxis or whatever, with a big smile on their face saying, I had a great night. Burns would have loved that. And that's, to me, is what it is, because Burns was a social animal. When he got out, he just loved company, and I think that's what Burns Supper's about. Celebrate his life in the way that he would like to have been done. Although we probably consume a lot more drink than Burns did, despite, as you know, all the stories that got about them.
Reputation.
But yeah, probably the mother club, but everyone holds a special place to this. It really does.
You talked about Winnipeg just before lockdown. Any other clubs you've visited during your presidential year?
We did a few around about, but I mean, I still look back at it and wonder how I did it, and I did it because of the fabulous support of the directors at the time, because I was still doing this full-time job and doing things around holidays. But we did Karen and I managed to do a Canadian tour.
It was fantastic.
It was outstanding, and it showed me what this man Burns means to a lot of people. And all my travels all over the years, no matter where I've gone, I've met a Scotsman, usually an Irishman as well, usually pretty close to the bar, to be perfectly honest. But every time you met one, I mean, the saying "there's not more Scots than a Scotsman abroad" is so true. It really is. And we went over there, and we got welcomed in. We flew into Toronto, and we got put up with the fabulous Ronnie O'Byrne, who you know well, and he's gorgeous, and lovely wife Susan took us into their home and treated us fabulously well. Actually had us down. Then one of the ladies' girlfriend was launching an arts magazine, and we ended up in this bar in the outskirts of Toronto as they launched this magazine, and Ronnie's up doing his poetry, which is absolutely fabulous, and me and Karen were also up doing a wee bit of reciting as well, and amongst all these lovies who
they wrote their own poems.
They didn't recite, they gave readings. I got put in my place with one of them. It was quite funny, but I'm up there with all the gear on and the big chain. And then we went from there over to Winnipeg, and we did the Winnipeg Club, and then over into Calgary, where we managed to have a couple of days holiday. That was quite interesting with this bloody big gold chain. And on these, so we're up in Banff in April, there's still lots of snow, up to Lake Louise, and we signed "Do not walk in the water," and proved that Mrs. Kane can walk in water, because we were right out on Lake Louise and she's walking on top of it, frozen solid, of course. But back down to Medicine Hat for the Rabana. So being in great company, and you know, the North Americans just love Burns and they really get into it, and Jim knows, especially having been amongst them quite a few times. If we could just bottle some of their excitement and their love of this man and bring it back to more people in Scotland. We've got a real hardcore people, but if we could just engage even more, and the way they managed to do it over there would be just fantastic, Douglas. It really would. What worries me about our organisation here is age. You know, we're just not getting youngins, but that's not just our organisation. You know, I'm involved with Rotary and other things, and just getting younger people to engage in things is getting more and more difficult.
Well, you mentioned your recitations when you were over there, or your readings. You couldn't give us one just now?
I let myself into that, did I know? It's, you know, people often say, what is it about Burns that appeals to you? And there's so many facets of the man, and every one of them is well worth looking at. But I just loved the way he looked at life, and his sense of humour. And my favourite poem is Burns's address to Unkagid. And I think that kind of just sums him up, how he looks at things, and he gives folk a row and have a wee look at yourself, you know. Well, ye who are so good yourself, say pious and say holy, you're not today but mark and tell your neighbour's thoughts and folly. His life is like a real gone mill, supply the store of water, keep it happers even still, and still the clap plays clatter. Hear me, ye venerable core, as a counsel for pure native. And I can't mind that it's not done the bloody thing.
He did it at conference.
I did it at conference, but I had one or two whiskies.
It was just as good that night as well.
But no, that's my favourite, and I can't recite it when I can remember the thing. But always do a brush up. And another one, I've actually got my brother-in-law painted it for me for my 40th birthday, and I keep saying I'm going to learn it, and I learn a bit of it, and I learn another bit of it. And it's, you know, when Burns looked at life, and he could just picture for me and bring things to life. And this poem, and if you're heading up to Aviemore and heading up north, quite a lot of time the wife will get you to go into the House of Brewer for a cup of tea. And the Falls of Brewer are right up the back of that. And at one time you could actually get a copy of this poem. It used to be in a leaflet holder as you walked up there. But the cutbacks, any time I've been up, there's never any there. And he wrote this after having walked along and seeing the Falls of Brewer. And there was nothing there, they were bare. And he called it the humble petition to Brewer Water. And he sent it, I believe it was to the gamekeeper, because and it was to be given to the laird. And it's, my lord, I hope your noble ear will ne'er assails in vain. Emboldened thus, I hope you'll hear your humble slave complain. How saucy Phoebus' scorching beams in flaming summer pride dry withering waste my foamy streams and drink my crimson tide. And what he's saying is this sun's glaring in, and it's just drying up the water because there's just no enough coverage there. And the Duke of Atholl actually planted trees after that. And that there, you can still go and see that in its glory today. And it's just quite fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
it's a lovely poem. I use it. I used to do a talk about Burns, the travel writer. And that was one of the things that was there. And I claimed that if he was around today, he'd be working for the tourist board. I'll do that again. If he was around today, he'd be working for the Scottish Tourist Board and writing material for the leaflets.
Yeah,
definitely, aye, because he's the best ever. And you know, I've loved reading about his tours and doing a bit of looking at that. And that Highland tour, and I do a bit in Immortal Memory, where I really do think Burns was looking at his life beyond Edinburgh, because he knew that the rich and the famous were going to get a bit fed up with him, and I think he knew that. And he went on that Highland tour looking at his next stage of life, round particularly the songs, and went away and collected all those songs. And it's quite fascinating. And if some of the listeners haven't looked at that, have a real look at Burns' tours. They're really fascinating, particularly for me, that Highland one, because of the people he met was quite amazing. The real people of the day, the Neil Gows. And kind of stumbled on Neil Gow. It wasn't a planned meeting. Quite fascinating for me.
Jim, we're getting to the stage where we need to start winding down. Is there anything else that we want to talk about?
No, I've just a question for Karen, if she doesn't mind.
Before you start that, anything, Karen and Bobby, anything that we've not asked you about and you'd want to talk about?
I just
no.
I just like to say, you know, we've met some amazing friends together. And we've done Burns together, and thank you for asking us both together. I know Jim asked me a while ago, but Karen took a wee bit of persuading, and we finally managed to get her to come on, because it was quite important we did it together, because that's your life. It's your life with Burns.
Yeah. And just you're saying about the friends that we've made, and going back to conference, it's the people ultimately. It's not about the chain. It's not about the position you get to. It's not about who's on what board or who's doing what or who's doing more than anybody else. It's just about the friendship that we have, and we've met some amazing people and through the Burns movement, and real friends for life. You know, people that you know you might not see them day to day with COVID, we might not see them for about a year and a half. But when you do meet them, it's like you just saw them yesterday. You know, you seem to pick up where you left off, and it is a real friendship that he has inspired in everybody, and that's why we go to the Burns. You know, that is why we go back every month, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Friends that we've met.
Okay, Jim, do you want to finish off with your question?
Just a quickie for Karen. I mean, as you know, for me, the schools competition is the jewel in the crown of the Burns Federation, and you've been in that committee for a long time.
Yeah.
How do you see it, or where do you see it, or how would you like to see it going forward?
Oh, controversial question, Jim.
No, it's not controversial. I'm just looking for an opinion, because having been on it and then got sacked, you know, I just like to know.
Yeah, to be fair, I've been to a few committee meetings and you come out thinking, well, that's 2 hours of my life I'll not get back again. The schools competition to me is it's like the church, it's like the Rotary, it's like any clubs, the Burns Club. It's all about the next generation. It's all about getting these kids in. And it's about taking the barriers that are there that stop the children taking part. I mean, one of the best things that I ever did was I took over the choral competition. And I can honestly say it was down on its knees and it was really needing a wee bit of an injection of enthusiasm and things. And one of the best things ever was when New Cumnock Primary came. And I remember Margaret Skillen came with them on the bus. And this was the first year they came. And we had managed to get the bears at the time. So they were getting the, what were the oats?
Hamlin Oats.
Hamlin Oats. So Hamlin Oats had sort of sponsored and given us these teddy bears. So we knew that each choir was getting a teddy bear. And along came New Cumnock Primary School, and I have never seen as much enthusiasm in my life. They were sitting on the edge of their seats, they were bouncing up and down, and I thought, oh, they're going to crash and burn shortly. But they were fantastic. And they didn't win that year, but it was their first year. But they, to me, epitomised what the whole, not just the choral competition, but the whole competition was about. These kids just loved being there, and they had spent a long time rehearsing and put a lot of time and effort in with their teacher, and they were just so chuffed at having, you know, we all clapped and that was it for them. They just wanted us to appreciate the work they put into it. And the same day, Cumnock were playing in the Scottish Cup, or because they had to name their bears. And I got a lovely thank you letter back from the school and the kids. And it was lovely. I've got them all because they obviously have came a few times. And it was just a picture of the choir on the card. And inside they said that they had named their bear Afton.
That was Glen Afton.
Because that's what it was. Glen Afton was in the Scottish Cup that same day. And they came back, and I think it was on their third time they came back and they won.
Yep.
They either won or they were second or something.
They won it. They
won it. I think they were second or third the second year they came as well. But it's about barriers. And I remember Margaret telling me at the schools competition after that and saying to me that for some of those kids, it was the first time they'd even been outside of New Cumnock. You know, they hadn't ever travelled even outside their village or their town. And they came all the way to sunny West Lothian to take part. I just feel there's a lot of barriers put up to stop these kids entering. Be it, well, I had a real irk about them doing away with any Scottish poem for P45s. Because I'm a firm believer that Burns didn't spend most of his life collecting music and poems to preserve them. It wasn't his work he preserved, it was everybody's. It was the Scottish poems and songs and things and tunes and things that he preserved. And I really think he'd be burling in his grave if he thought we had a competition that was solely Burns. I don't think he thought that much of himself to think that there wasn't other talent in the country. And some of the best reactions from parents is when you get the wee primary 4-5 standing up there, and instead of them all doing maybe something like Willie Wassell or one of the or To a Moose, and even the To a Moose is quite tricky for some of the weird ones. They stand up and they sing Mary's Wedding, and you get the granny saying, "Oh my goodness, I've not heard that for like 20 years. The last time I heard that, it was my daughter sang that at such and such." And it's about keeping those things alive, like the wee Cucubry Centipede and some of the newer poems, but Scottish poems. And I really feel that we need to encourage the kids. And if it means they don't necessarily always do Burns, then they'll come to Burns. They'll progress onto Burns. But I do think it's about opening doors rather than curtailing it that wee bit. But then I'm not on the committee, so.
Karen, that was fantastic. What a sentiment to end, and a bit of extra publicity for Newcomnock. These wains are tremendous. So great way to finish. So thank you very much for giving us your time, Karen and Bobby, telling us about your life with Robert Burns. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Good day, everybody.
Bye.